And with us right now, we've got Andy Bahr. Andy, you are the founder of Bahr Transportation. I love this. As soon as it came up on the schedule, I looked at a transportation company. I love this. Like, listen, I talk with a lot of marketers.
Yeah.
Marketers are swell people. But it's really great to talk with someone who's like out there and, kind of the salt of the earth kind of business owner, man. So thank you so much for joining us, Andy.
Absolutely. This is my first podcast, and thanks for having me. I mean, I don't know where to start, so you'll be the lead on this, but absolutely, thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. So your background, obviously, you weren't in high school, and right fresh out of high school, you owned a transportation company. So how did you get here?
Sure. So I worked in sports for about 5 years, loved sports, but then I was like, okay, time to make some money, and I basically transitioned into sales and found a transportation company that I had interned for in college. So they were at my career fair, and then I started working for them. I applied to a job in Chicago and started working for them. Worked there for about 4 years, left the business, and then I missed it. So I came back. So, 2 years in between, and then started Bahr Transportation. Was lucky enough to have some good friends in the business, and the rest is history. Yeah.
So where do you fit in? So do you have a fleet of trucks, or, again, I don't know anything about the trucking industry other than my grandpa was a trucker. And I'll be honest with you, I actually have a little bit of a social fantasy that I would love to drive a truck. It's like, well, oh my gosh, like if I could just drive on the open road, just listen to podcasts all day long. Like, I know in reality, it's a lot tougher than that. And it's boring and monotonous sometimes, but it's like, man, it just feels like from the outside, it feels like a very simple, where I could just have time with my thoughts and just learn. And anyway,
Yeah.
I know it's nothing like that. And I know that firsthand from my grandpa, but there's a lot more to it.
I don't own any trucks. I'm a broker. I'm a truck broker. So I am the middleman matching the manufacturers and food suppliers with carriers. So food suppliers and manufacturers, they need trucks because their customer demands are always changing, right? Like they might not need anything, but then in 30 seconds they need 5 trucks. So having the ability to adjust with their needs is what they want. They want that instant capacity. And then on the carrier side, it would cost them a fortune to hire a sales team to go prospect shippers, right? So a broker is that middleman that plays the matchmaker. And that's what we do. I do a lot in the food and beverage space.
My goodness. So what you're saying then is, so it's a manufacturer, and the manufacturer says, generally this is the way it goes, right? It's like, we need trucks, and then you find the trucking company, you find them the best deal then. Is that it?
Exactly. I mean, price is one thing, but also, if the commodity is high value, they have to make sure that you have the right insurance, because not all carriers have the same insurance. There's a lot of fraud in transportation. So you have to be careful of who's calling in. Are they actually calling from the company? If they're not, you have to call the company, because there's dispatch services that dispatch for carriers. It's a kind of a whole web. So as long as the numbers match up, it's just doing some basic due diligence. But a lot of people, don't do that. And that's unfortunate. But it's just making sure the P's and Q's line up and playing matchmaker. Yeah.
So you launched this, I mean, no joke, about 1 year ago, and you're already you're already trucking, as they say, in terms of business.
Yes. About 1 year ago. And I was thankful to have some really good relationships with carriers that I worked with in the past. And, without them, I wouldn't have a job, right? Because, they are literally 30% of the equation. So, that's one thing. And then of course, on the customer side, you have your relationships with them too. And, of course, it's nice to start a business, but then you don't become an entrepreneur just to be a solopreneur, right? You want to, at least from my opinion, I want to grow it, right? So, I'm very grateful, and yes, it was a good start, but I've got got some big goals. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
So do you run the show right now by yourself?
I do have some help. I just hired employee number one, so that was a big step. Certainly with the current events going on and unknown, but yeah, no, it's definitely an exciting time, and he frees me up so I can go prospect more and go build relationships and network. And
Yeah.
like we were talking earlier, it's one thing to just be cold calling, but if you can actually like form relationships and get referrals that way, I mean, it's 10 times easier. And you want to work with people who know people you're already working with, because they're going to treat you, probably like your current customers treat you, right? Like minded birds flock together, something like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you don't mind, like, can you share a little bit of like a little bit more like on the business and revenue model? And is like, I mean, there's apparently, because again, I know what the qualifications are to be on this show. So you did all right in year one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was basically based off of 8 months from 2019. And, a broker should strive for 15%, 15% per load as far as a margin. And, rates can range from $1.50 to $2.50 a mile, depending on the commodity, the area of the country, the month of the year. Right now is it's April 16th. So we are looking at, basically just the start of the produce season in a lot of spots. It just depends on where you are, but yeah, it's a very demographic dependent.
Yeah. So, how much money would you estimate that you would save like your average customer by working through you, as opposed to if they were to just do this in-house?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it depends on their volume. But average customer, you want to work with like a $50 million company. That's kind of like your target, your minimum. 50 million to 250 million would be your target niche. And I mean, if you are trying to do this yourself, you're gonna probably have, not only a logistics manager, but you're gonna have to have somebody in addition to a whole nother person. So that could be $60,000 to $80,000 per year, just lining up the trucks and just talking with them, making sure that, dealing with fallouts. And like I said, some insurance, some carriers don't have the right insurance. So then they tell a white lie. They don't have, we haul this commodity, but then they don't. Then there's a claim. And then you're looking at, most carriers have 100,000 in cargo. Well, what if it's a $200,000 load? And, then you're out 100 grand. So that's just one load. So you could be easily doing, 10 to 50 to 100 loads a week.
What was the aha moment that you were like, wait a minute, I can fill this role here and I can solve a problem for some people?
I think it was just having done it in the past and knowing that I enjoyed it and was good at it, even though it's not always fun at times. You kind of got to be a little crazy to work in transportation. You've got, nothing's going on, and then there's 3 fires you got to put out right away, right at the same time. So I think it was just that moment where I felt like I had good carriers, okay, and the customers would pay for service. Anybody can make 1 million calls and just give customers bottom dollar rates, but then when that truck falls out because he didn't get the best rate he deserved, then you're stuck paying a higher rate, and it's just not smooth. It's not efficient.
Yeah. So I would imagine that trucking has changed quite a bit. Like with, again, we're recording this kind of middle of April. I would imagine, how has the trucking industry evolved or changed or responding to new distribution models that just gotta be so weird. You try to manage logistics based on patterns and seasons, and here's what we know so you can plan for the future. And who planned for this in January?
Exactly. So, a lot of your food, if it's coming from overseas, there's 30 or 90-day lead times, right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to plan, but you can try to stock the freezers and a lot of that food can keep, but at the same time, what we're preparing right now is the post COVID-19 food surge. Because if you think about it, everyone's going to go back to the restaurants, to the grocery stores, the schools are going to open all at the same time.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
so
I can't imagine.
That's something we're trying to communicate with our customers and others.
Start planning now.
Exactly. And we could be wrong. And if we are, okay. But, we had a conversation. But, I mean, if this thing turns on, and people are tired of cabin fever and they just flood the restaurants and the grocery stores, the food market's going to be tight. The truck market's going to be tight. You're going to need to have your P's and Q's lined up, and it could be an extremely different world.
Yeah. Have you had any interesting fires that you've had to put out that would be like, man, this needs to be on like a reality TV show?
I mean, it's normal logistic stuff, but it's not for outside the world. It wouldn't be. I guess it would be more exciting.
You don't have to, like, you're not necessarily involved in the minutia, like, driver, something bad happens, or driver does something stupid, and you're like,
it wasn't really my load, but a carrier I used, the truck caught on fire.
Whoa.
So thankfully the driver was okay, and it was put out, but it wasn't. I'm trying to think of a good situation or good. Yeah, nothing comes to mind. I vet the carriers pretty stringently, because
yeah. Are there carriers that you vetted and you're like, yeah, no, we're not working with them?
Yeah, well, no, they'll call in and, here's one. So one of the best things we do is we vet the insurance. Okay, we don't just take the certificate and say, okay, XYZ carrier is with ABC insurance company. We call the insurance company. We say, okay, is this an active policy? Does it have motor or cargo insurance? Does it have auto liability? Well, the phone number, it was like literally pasted onto the certificate that we received. So that seemed a little funny. And there was like a dash in between the last 3 or 4 digits. So called the insurance company. They're like, yeah, we don't know who this is. We don't have an active policy.
Oh, no.
So it was just some guy who didn't want to pay his, $3,000 or $4,000 insurance for the year. And yeah.
Yeah. And have you ridden in a truck?
Have I? No, I have not.
I've never ridden in a truck.
Yeah. I have been in a semi, but it wasn't.
Okay. But not driven, but you've run side car. So in BJ and the Bear, you would have been Bear.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself. That was a monkey.
Okay. Like we do like a lot of loads that go coast to coast. So they have sleepers, and a lot of the trucks are pretty nice. Yeah. Like a Kenilworth or a Peterbilt, those are like the nicer trucks. Yeah. The more kind of mainstream are freight liners. So it kind of depends on what you want a Volvo or do you want a Toyota?
Yeah. And so for you now at the phase you're in, you've probably done, it sounds to me, again, Andy, just kind of reading between the lines here, you did a crap ton of hustling, and you have.
Yeah. No. So it's not that hard to actually start a brokerage to actually, it's not that much capital to start. The paperwork anybody can start a brokerage, right? But it takes a lot of, it took me, 4 years to actually have a pool of customers, right? So it's just it was a lot of calling, a lot of, just like I said, hustle, a lot of organization, accounting. I mean, right now, only being a 2-person team, I've got probably waking up 2 or 3 days a week, sending invoices at 4 a.m. So it's a little bit of a grind right now. No lie there, but we're going to put some systems in place to like, this is a little plug for another company, Triumph Pay. They pay carriers. That's what they do. So essentially they integrate with your TMS, your transportation management software. And that way you don't have to do that.
What's the dream for you as a business owner?
1,000 employees,
Wow.
and be.
That's a big company, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But not just the size. I want to be known as the most honest and customer-focused truck broker in the nation with the most loyal customer base.
You know, I was actually on your LinkedIn here, and you actually have that as your description, the most honest and customer-focused truck broker in the Milky Way galaxy.
Well, if you think about it, there's 18,000 realtors in Chicago, where there's 18,000 truck brokers in the United States. So it's completely saturated.
Wow.
So you've got to stand out. And, you know, I know you're a big fan of bombbomb.com. I've started to use that. And just, you got to be creative.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Andy Bahr, this has been awesome. And so if someone wants to get to know you, if they know either a manufacturer or a trucking company, they ought to, if they're going to work with anybody, they ought to work with the most honest and customer-focused truck broker in the Milky Way galaxy. I know there's a couple planets around Alpha Centauri that, I don't know, they might give you a run for your money. They're pretty honest, but we'll have to give you the title for now until we find out otherwise.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome. So Andy, your website is Bahr Trans, and that's BAHR Trans, TRANS.com. Got a beautiful picture of a big rig right there. And anything else that you'd like to share, or something that, you know, any advice that you'd offer to someone who also kind of wants to kind of follow your, you know, it took some guts to say, okay, I'm going to leave my job and start this thing and then have it work out. It's pretty great.
Yeah, no. When I was talking to your office, they said this podcast is, you know, for entrepreneurs basically. And I wrote down a top 20 list if you want me to go through.
Whoa, you got a top 20 list?
Yeah.
Well, let's start working through it, and I'll let you know. We'll see. We got about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
We have to maybe kind of consolidate as top 10.
Okay. All right. Number one, get a industry specific coach. Learn from them.
Yes. Listen, the reason for that is why.
Right. Well, learn from them. Right. Learn from their mistakes. So just like there's a great app, Blinkist, that you can read a book, but you don't read it if you just listen to it in 15 minutes instead of spending a week reading the book. Yeah. So I don't read, so it's great. When I work out, I can listen to it. Number two would be have an accountability group. There's M1 with Rock Thomas. He's really good. I used to be in that. Giving, giftology. There's John Rowland is the guy, and he's got a system in place which is awesome. He basically talks about how he recommends you give personalized gifts to not only the point of contact, your customer, but his or her family. So it's not just like the restaurant or, you know, the dinner. It's the cutting board.
If you get it, honestly, like I get gifts from time to time. It's like, that's cool. I appreciate it. But if you give a gift to my wife or my kids, now that's like, oh, you know what? That was pretty cool. Like, I'm good. Like, you know, I don't know that I need another Chotsky, but if you give me something that my kids are going to enjoy, I'm like, okay, that's really super thoughtful.
Right. And then start each morning, like Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning.
Oh, yeah.
Savers, which is like, you know, visualizing and all that. You know, writing down your goals. That's huge. I'm trying to go fast here. And then figuring out what is that whole, like, you know, water boils at 102 degrees. What's that 2% more that you can do that will make you in the top 1% of your field? Because it's not that much more that you have to do, but no one else is doing it. So if you do it, you know, you're at the top.
I like that. Give me two more. This is good.
Okay, let me find some good ones. I mean, basic things: eat the frog first thing, do the hard thing in the morning.
Yeah.
There's a book out called "Give Them the Pickle," which there was this guy who owned a sub shop, and this customer came in every single day, ordered a sandwich every single day, but one day the regular customer asked the front staff member, "Can I have a pickle with my sandwich?"
Yeah.
And he wouldn't give it to him. And so the owner came out and said, "This guy has come here every single week for 52 weeks a year for 3 years. Give him the pickle." So that's a good one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. Like, I like that. Like, never say no, just, find a way to say yes. I mean, even if you can't truly honor that request, say yes in a way that you can, for sure. Love that.
yeah,
I'll remember that.
especially like the pickle's 10 cents. He's coming in, the revenue's more than surpasses it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right now very applicable. Control what you can, right? Like Tony Robbins' big thing: control the controllables. You know, Shark Tank. What's his name? The guy who sits on the far right.
Robert
Herjavec. Yeah,
Herjavec, yeah.
Herjavec. He was on LinkedIn yesterday live, and he was just like, just control what you can. Focus.
Yeah, right. And just understand that, if you think that you can control the market, you can't. The market is the market, right?
Exactly.
And so it's, as much as you think that you're smarter than your customers, okay, you can be smarter than them, but that doesn't mean that they're going to buy from you. Like, they'll tell you what they need, and you have to respond to the market, and it's not the other way around.
Exactly.
So, I hear you. All right, Andy Bahr, that's good. That's
okay.
We'll save the other remaining. I'll tell you what, put them up on your website.
Okay.
Put this up on your website. You have a blog, right?
I do not have a blog.
Find somewhere to put it. You will by the time this airs.
Okay.
Then people will have the perfect excuse to get your top 20 list. And again, that's Bahr Trans, BAHR Trans, TRANS.com. And go look for Andy's top 20 list of like things that he has used to grow his company. And again, very quickly in a short amount of time. So Andy, congratulations on your success thus far. And we'll be watching your success with great interest. Take care.
Thank you, Josh. You too.